yeah, I mean, it's like, hey, we're back. So
We're,
talk to me. Tell me what's good.
uh, I've had an amazing 2 weeks. So,
2 weeks.
travel,
That's all it's been.
met a
2 weeks.
lot. Yes, my 2 weeks following into this week has been amazing. I've met a lot of beautiful people. Um, I was in Chicago, and
Mm-hmm.
Chicago is definitely it's a vibe. I will say that with
Yeah.
people of color, it is a vibe, and people are really flourishing there. They are working, they are building businesses, they are networking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just, the food is amazing. So a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
places I had the opportunity to eat and partake in just conversations, it was really nice. It was like one of the best getaways I've ever had.
Yeah, Chicago's a real good destination. I've been to Taste of Chicago before, and I told you I've been down on the Magnificent Mile. I used to have a company I worked with, and we traveled to Chicago for training a lot, and that was like a real
Hmm.
popular thing. So it was good. It's
Hmm.
good. I always had a good time in Chicago. Mhm.
Yeah, I love Chicago. They just drive different, but other than that,
Right. So yeah, other than that, I mean, here it is. 2 weeks what was that? 3 weeks ago? Maybe 3 weeks ago.
yes,
3 weeks ago.
yes,
So what happened? Tell me about what happened after the video. I mean, what you know, I know, like I told you, I had an opportunity come up with in my area, and like I said, they're scheduling some things, and what's the name asked me just recently asked me, she was gonna reach out to you. So I'm just seeing all this different stuff. I'm like, what happened on your end?
So on my end, I definitely have been getting or have been receiving a lot of DMs.
Yeah,
Something that I wasn't quite,
social media is a
yeah,
very powerful tool. A very powerful tool.
something I wasn't used to. I was just like, okay, DMs are really okay. And
Mm,
so DMs are kind of like, for me, it's kind of like trying to decipher, who's really having this conversation with me, or who's really serious about saying hello. A lot of
mm-hmm.
men. Um,
That makes
so
sense.
that was interesting. Yeah, that was interesting because of the dating situations, open to dating, I guess. And of course, um, having had that, I answered back to a few. I've had a few conversations that were meaningful. But what I'm finding is, because my heart is so ready, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would not allow someone to um ruin it for me or make me feel like I couldn't love again, that I have
Mm.
love to give, because I love me, right? And
Yeah, that's
who
true.
wouldn't want to share the love that you have for yourself with someone else, but they have to be willing to receive it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I'm finding that a lot of guys are very I don't know, they're just like, I call it curveballs. They'll say to you, things like, you're really pretty, or you're very open to, the dating thing, like I want to set the date, and then they'll like kind of like throw the ball. It's like a curveball. You can't hit it, because then they kind of take back what they're saying. So they'll say stuff like, but I'm really busy. Well, why even throw it out there that you want to date, or you're open to dating, or you're giving me a compliment, and then it's kind of like you take it back because of, for whatever reason, what you've already experienced with someone else. And I have to remind them, I'm not the experience that you've already had.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Hmm.
So,
I
and then you
know
get that
that makes
question,
sense for somebody to do something and turn around and walk it back. That doesn't make a lot of sense there. I mean, whatever it is, I don't know, maybe there's some other ulterior reasons. It's probably something that's a
mm,
topic maybe we should bring up on love and relationships later on. You know,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely, I think you should.
But
And then go ahead.
no, no, no. I want to say overall, has the experience been positive?
So yeah, so I've had maybe two out of all of those, right? Who
Mm-hmm.
have had like really good conversations. I've gone on a coffee date I thought was really nice. I actually went to a after going to a speakeasy in the Shy, I was invited to a speakeasy here in Tampa, Florida, which was really nice. I enjoyed that. It gave me it gave me motivation. You know, sometimes you just need that one situation to kind of make you feel like, okay, well, I'm okay with this. You know, I can do this. And then I do have an expectation,
Mhm.
but again, I'm not setting the bar so high that it can't be reached,
Yeah.
right? And I'm asking them to have an expectation of me. Like, I get the ones that say, "Well, I just go with the flow." I don't want you to just go with the flow. I want you to ask me questions. I
Yeah. Have
want
a
you to
plan.
be very observant of who I am. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So yeah. So
Just
that has
have a
been
plan,
my
and like I guess it feels good just to get out the shell, just to kind of, start, I guess, start fresh or start anew, you know what I'm saying? When you realize that
yes.
you've gotten past another point, when you try to go to your next destination, you know what I'm saying? It just feels good to try to get back out on the road and get back out to the swing of things, I guess, you know. So that's always
Absolutely.
a plus. That's a positive thing, you know.
Yes.
Oh,
Absolutely.
I don't know. I've seen some things. I've, of course, social media, because I do so many things right now. Right now, I'm trying to get to the point where I can focus on one thing, but I've done so
Mhm.
much. I've, this platform, this is, conversations with Dame, but I do, the group, the love and relationships, and Little City OG, some with me and the fellas, and now we're working on sportscast. And, football
Mm.
season is back. So,
Mhm.
there'll be a lot of football
Yeah.
content because the football content is
Yeah.
super specific and it's super popular. A lot of
Mhm.
changes have been made. A lot of things going on with preseason and college just starting. This is week 0, so it's just been really kept me busy with that. So I just want to reach out today just to see if we can get back on, just reconnect. It's been a couple weeks, see what was going on with you. If
Yes.
you gotten out some
Well,
good
I thought about
things.
you the entire time when I was gone. I was like, Damien has really, he done started this conversation piece for me. So now
Hmm.
it's like it's starting to be more and more of an invite to conversations, good conversations,
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
adult conversations. I love
Hmm.
that. I love that. Now, what I do admire about some of my DMs, I
Hmm.
get the men who actually are doing like complete sentences.
Hmm.
They're not doing the
So that's not very common. That's
WYD
what I'm saying.
stuff. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
These are.
They're actually doing complete sentences. So they're really like talking to you, like asking you
Mm-hmm.
questions. Like, what are your interests? Are you interested in this? Would you be interested in this? So and then the coffee and conversation I thought was a really nice touch for one gentleman because um after meeting him in a nice area, it was safe, it was during the day, there's
Mm-hmm.
people there, there's a lot of moving and in the city it was like a downtown
Yeah.
situation, so you got like the vintage shops, you have like the little bistros. It was really nice. That is something that I'm so open to because of my age is a factor, right? Like I don't want to meet you in a nightclub, you
Yeah.
know? I don't want to meet you somewhere where I gotta, guess what you're saying because the music is so loud and your approach might be one in which you
Yep.
know what I'm saying? I
Well, here's
like I kind of like that.
here's something. Now that you mention that, so what is your
Mhm.
demographic? Where's that guy fit? That guy that you're looking for? Where's his? What's his age range? What's his environment? And I'm just curious on that.
Dario, so embarrassed to say, but so well, since you say that, so my age is 52. I've been getting DMs from guys 45 and up. So between like 45 and 54 is where
But
it
is that
has been
okay?
for me.
Is that your preference though? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Is that your
I,
preference?
I'm open. I'm open to it. I'm open
Mm-hmm.
to it because I found that I was that old school age thinker. Like they have to be your age. They have to be, you know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
because that's how we grew up thinking. But then I'm like, you know what? I need to think outside this box. And I've met really like mature, um they have great jobs, they have great conversation, they're educated,
Mm-hmm.
they're entrepreneurs. They didn't necessarily had to go to college, but they have great businesses,
Good businessman.
they have great business sense. They might just work a 9 to 5, but they also
Mm-hmm.
have other things that they're interested in. I met a day trader, but he does a 9 to 5 job, even though he's a day trader, and he didn't
Mm-hmm.
go to college, but he pursued other things that he make more money than me.
Yeah.
And
Hey, look,
I went to college, you know
whatever
what
you
I'm
have to do
saying?
to make
So,
your money, man. I understand that. I mean,
right.
a lot of things. Actually, day trading is very popular right now. We got a couple guys I
Yes,
know
it
that do
is.
that, and they do very well. Now, here's a question:
Yes.
first date,
Okay.
movie,
Mm.
dinner, park. If you had to choose, what's your preference?
I would say park.
Park. Okay,
Hmm.
that's kind of common these days. I mean, that's something that people are looking towards, something different. They say about dinner dates. Dinner dates, you're really eating, kind of focus on the food. It's an intimate thing, but trying to talk over food and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think a first date or a movie is a horrible date because you're in the theater watching the movie the whole time. So maybe it's
Right.
you're in the same proximity, but there's no real conversation being held. So that's just definitely one of the different things about it. Maybe now,
Hmm.
how about this? Some people say the first date or is it the second date? Which one determines the longevity of the person? Because people say you go to feel people out on those first 2 dates. Some people say they can do it in the first date. Some people say they can do it in the second. What do you think about that?
For me, it's the second date because now that's where I'm at with this one particular person,
Mm-hmm.
and they've shown a lot of it's progression. They've shown a lot of interest.
Mm-hmm.
They've been consistent. You
Oh,
know, I don't just receive a text message. I receive phone calls.
phone
I
call.
get full
And
conversations from men who say, this is a man that says, I don't really talk on the phone like that. He said, but you make it interesting enough for me to be on the phone with you. He was
okay.
like, when I come home, I want to talk to you. I want to see your face. So we go through the WhatsApp because of the type of phone he has. He doesn't have an iPhone. So I had to go ahead and plug that.
What's
So
up?
he's
Yeah.
like, I'll talk on the WhatsApp, and we go on the WhatsApp, and we have some of the most amazing conversations. Um, because he works out of town, he flies in town. I like the
Out of the
fact that I
country?
can see him.
Is out of the
Say that
country?
again.
Is he out of the?
No, no, no. So no, so he's a Floridian.
Okay.
He lived in Fort Lauderdale, but now he has family in New York, so he's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
traveling
The only
back.
reason I asked was you said the WhatsApp. Usually the guys that go back and forth between the islands or other countries because it's the only
Yeah,
platform that's
right,
worldwide.
exactly. And he is Jamaican descent, so
Mm-hmm.
he has family in Jamaica, so I think that has a lot to do with it as well. But what I like about him is I've met like I've been introduced to like who his kids are, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
what the situation was with, a past relationship, where he's at now with it. And it's like a slow pace. He's a romantic. I love that. He's
Okay.
insightful. He's a man that gives you affirmations. But again, I told him I don't want you representative. I want
That
the
person.
original.
Yeah.
I want
You want
I
the.
don't want the
They
carbon
say
copy.
sometimes it
I
takes
want
months to get to that person.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Sometimes it
It
takes months. It
does.
just depends on the person, but sometimes it takes months to get to the original person. I mean, that's funny.
Absolutely.
Three terms. If I gave you three terms, um,
Okay.
which one is the most attractive to you? Discipline, consistency, or peace?
Mm.
And we're just saying attractive in a potential partner.
I'm going to say peace because I feel like the peace for me
Mm-hmm.
is what brings the attraction, the consistency.
Yeah.
and the discipline. Yeah, the peace
Yeah.
does, because that's an all in one for me, and
Yeah.
I'm looking for that. You know, um,
Hmm.
physicality is what we normally have from the beginning, but a lot of times you can look one way and then you speak and it changes everything.
Yeah. And then those three things are way past the physicality. We've already gotten past that at that point. Yeah. This will be definitely more on the long term. Yeah. Definitely on the long term thing. Now, here's another one. And
Absolutely.
this is a very popular thing.
Okay.
A lot of people get asked. Um, when it comes to dating, would you be in a serious relationship with someone who makes significantly less than you? And there are no wrong
Absolutely.
answers here. This is just preference. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I'm at a point in my life where if we put ours together, we have more than enough.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
That's always a good one.
You know what I'm cut from, Davey. So you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? It's like I watched my mother and my father,
Hmm.
go through their love and their endurance, and there's
Yeah.
no, for me, I would never want to see another love like that's the only type of love I would want to see. And I remember moments when my father did not have and my mother had, and their love still stood the test
Yeah.
of
And
time.
they overcame that,
You
you
know,
know. And which is,
absolutely.
especially historically, that's always been the case. And I think it's the new era that people are really financially, they're judging people financially before
Mm,
romantically. And I'm not saying to throw it out completely out the door, but I'm just saying, we have to have some type of there's some guidelines to it, and I think everybody has their own personal guidelines, but there's guidelines to something like that. Um, super complicated. This may be a loaded question, a two-part question.
okay.
And this is one I thought of earlier, and this was something it's always had, different responses. Um,
Okay.
the question was, have you ever stayed in a relationship longer than you should? And um, and you stayed in because of guilt or obligation. And the second question is, why couldn't you leave sooner?
Mm. So yes, I stayed in a relationship longer than I should have.
Yeah.
When I had the opportunity to get out, I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
My reasoning for staying is because I had a child for that person and we were married, and we both had already endured or divorce. We saw our parents divorced. We've seen childhood traumas. We didn't want I felt I didn't want to put my child through that, knowing that our relationship, I thought we could mend.
Mm-hmm.
um and the second part was, I couldn't leave, mainly after seeing that wasn't um I wasn't loved, and I
Properly.
shouldn't have been. Right. And so with that, financially, after basically giving my independence up to a person
Mm-hmm.
that I couldn't leave, because financially I had no other way of getting out, so I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the mindset of what was being, basically I was, how what is the word, when you're being brainwashed to think that you can't move on without this person,
Yeah.
that you have to be dependent upon whatever they bring to the table, because that's the only way you're going to survive. That
Yeah.
was that
Right.
was the norm. And so at some point I came out of that through therapy, you know,
Mm-hmm.
which helped me to realize you can really do this by yourself. You don't have to stay somewhere where you're not wanted.
Hmm. That's deep. That's deep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, like I say, when people do go through things like that, sometimes that is, I ain't gonna say traumatizing, but it just tells you a lot. Tells you a lot about a person. you
It
know,
does.
about their progress through things.
Mm-hmm.
Now, say
It really.
in that same situation, in that same relationship,
Mm-hmm.
you have a deep conversation with a close friend of yours, and you may be describing some of the same things from that situation, and that person tells you, after you tell them everything, they tells you, I think you gave your best years to the wrong person. How do you react
Mm.
to that? And do you agree
Oh.
or do you disagree?
Mm. I
Mm,
agree.
mm,
I agree. How hurtful it is to admit it, I agree.
wow.
Because we have more time behind us than we do in front of us. And yet you take all your good years, all your, all your youthful years, and
Yeah.
you give it to a person who just, didn't care enough to even try to at least salvage, some things that could have, we could have probably made some things. But then there's this thing where that's not the person for you.
Mm,
So that experience, although traumatic as it was for me, um, my experiences now is what I look at as my best teacher,
mm,
because in reality, I have fault in that too, because I shouldn't have stayed somewhere I knew for a fact I had no business being. Yeah.
oh,
When it was time for me to go, I should have gone.
gone. Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I'm glad to see you're eager to get back out here and do something new. Do something new. That's always a good thing. It's a good thing. Now, here, that being said,
Mhm.
in a new situation or relationship or whatever it turns out to be, um, what's one thing that you actually crave to have in that relationship, but you may be too scared to ask for?
Mm.
Something that
This
you
is like
probably wouldn't say the first date. Hold on. I say something that you probably wouldn't ask for the first date or the second date. Something you probably have to have some conversation about. But it's something that's very important to you. But maybe it's something that they haven't brought up yet. What's that one thing like? I have to have this in my next relationship. Like this is just like a deal breaker type thing. What's that one thing?
if ever I'm uncomfortable, they need to be uncomfortable. So
So I'm
that
gonna
means if I
say
have to remove my, yeah,
attentiveness. Attentiveness. There you go. I can see that. Hmm. Yeah.
like that's like giving me my protection, and I shouldn't even have to ask for it. They
No.
should already be so in tuned with me
Mm-hmm.
that that is the one thing out of all things as a protector to know my level of comfort, because I too have to know their level of comfort. And if at some point they're just not comfortable, you know, it makes sense to exit stage left, right? And you be doing the same thing. For me to not even have to second guess
Mm-hmm.
that you would do that for me,
Okay.
and vice versa. Yeah.
So now, at this point, is um is marriage still a goal, or is that something that I'm done with, or I'm not really seeking, or is it just the establishing a relationship?
So for me, Damien, honestly, I feel like I need the experience of dating. I need the experience of, I'm gonna go old school. I need the experience of courtship.
Mm.
I want I want that so much so.
So
And at
that
that
might
point,
be the thing on your last question, courtship. Because courtship is something, unfortunately today you may have to ask for that. You might have to request courtship because, you know,
yes,
I mean, so few people require it that it doesn't happen like it used to happen. You
no,
may not
it
get
doesn't.
the flowers leading up to the date or the the cards or the memos or whatever, and of course a lot of that stuff was it was back in the day, those were the options. I mean, there were no other options, and now there are a lot of other options today. But
Right.
because it hasn't happened in so long, I think some people have kind of left that outside of the outside of the repertoire or whatever. So yeah, you don't see it
Exactly.
as normal as others.
That's definitely what I'm looking for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for something everlasting. Um
Yeah,
if
long
it
term.
does in marriage, great. I'm all for it. But I don't want anything to be forced. I don't want anybody to rush and do something that they're not ready for
Hmm. Yeah.
with me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be sure that you know this is what you want to do. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna fight for it. I'm gonna get in the ring and I'm gonna fight for, you know, the relationship. That's something that um I've never done.
Mm-hmm.
I just allowed them to do whatever and I go, I'm for whatever that is, whether it's the mistreatment, the lack of concern, the lack of empathy, I allowed that to be the component that I I I just let them do that to me, and that's my fault
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
allowing that. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I won't allow that happened to me to keep me from being who I need to be in the next situation,
Next
and
situation,
I don't want to say situation in a loving and
healthy
meaningful
relationship.
relationship.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And the only reason I say situation is because I never know, like when you establish a relationship, you never know which way it's going to go. Either you're going to accept
Mhm.
or you're going to move on past that person. So I don't, I want to say situationship because that sounds like something temporary, but it's just a situation. When you first meet this person, you don't know if this person is going to be a permanent person that I date or this is going to be a person that I'm just going to move on from and, maybe a date or two and then go on to the next page. So, yeah.
I've been getting that too, where the gentleman has stated things like, I'm not going to make any promises. And I'm like, I'm not asking you to make any promises, but we've been in correspondence and talking and going on dates for maybe 3-4 weeks now. And then you come up with, but I'm not making any promises. I think that's that at that point where they're fearful now of this
Lack
could
of
be.
commitment.
There you go.
That's what it
Yeah.
sounds
So
like.
they throw
I could
that
be
in
wrong.
there
I'm
to
just
keep
talking.
you. Yeah. Right.
I could be wrong. Hey.
No, but you're right. Because now I'm understanding that to be what that is.
I could be wrong, but
Yeah.
I don't know those situations. You know, but yeah, I mean, it happens. It happens, and dating is
Hmm.
a puzzle, and nobody really knows the answer to this. Some of these situations work out great. Some situations not so
Hmm.
great. Seems like
Hmm.
some people have the key to it. Seems like others struggle consistently. So we never know
Hmm.
which way. We just try to put our best foot forward and try to do the things that are healthy that would allow us to successfully date and successfully date with
Hmm.
purpose because some people aren't doing that. So, but
Right.
I mean, but that's a
And
whole
that's
nother
where I'm at with it.
thing.
That's
That's
a
a
good
whole.
word. Dating with a purpose.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I have good intention.
So that's a good thing. Well, other than
Hmm.
that, where we at? Where we at? We still working Monday through Friday. Got rich yet? Hit the
Still
lotto?
working, still working with kids in crisis.
Yeah.
Now it's more like I'm working more with the LGBTQIA community. I have
In crisis
several
crisis
cases
format.
in crisis. Yep,
Mm,
yep, that's a whole different topic. Some are very unsure now that they've made those decisions, and
mm,
you can't turn back from it because you've gone full gender, you know, reassignment,
mm,
and yeah, and so with that is a complicated um conversation. to have,
It's a big
because
decision. That's a big decision.
it,
And what
it
do you
really
think?
is.
Question though, what do you think about the people who are doing it to the minors?
Mm.
Is that a minor
So
decision to make?
I think that I really don't think that, and this is
Yeah,
my own opinion.
yeah, yeah.
I don't think that a child really knows exactly
Mm-hmm.
who they are because of how the brain develops, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're coming into themselves. And a lot of what they're experiencing, I feel, is a projection, because again, I go into these homes, I go into these situations. It could be a foster care situation. It could be, this is a two-parent home. It could be a one-parent home. It could be, grandma's raising the child that where mom and dad are no longer in their life type situation, right? And there could be things that have happened in that household that this child is conforming to.
Mm-hmm.
So they are a little confused as to, why do I feel more feminine than I do masculine if
Mm-hmm.
I'm masculine? Or why do I feel more masculine and I'm feminine? And is that a way of guarding myself, like a defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm more masculine, then nobody won't touch me, or they won't, harm me, because most people, um the society has said, if I'm stern, if I'm strong, then that's a defense.
Yeah.
But that is a false sense of security also,
Mm.
because you could be the toughest of the toughest, and it still can be, think there could be other things that could possibly, change your life
Live. Yeah.
forever, you know
Hmm.
so, great sense of studying in the scientific part of that. Learning more about how, the development of the mind, and how people think. um it remains to be seen or known, for me, but I'm definitely more interested now in taking on some trainings, and we have conventions coming up too, that will give us that opportunity as therapists to learn from other perspectives, and doctors who study these,
Yeah.
psychiatrists who study this way of thinking and doing so. I'm interested in knowing, like, and then I could possibly have, an answer to that for
Yeah.
myself,
Yeah.
as
And
how
like I
I
said,
could
that's not a question, posed specifically for you, because like I said, it's something that's been debated quite a bit, and as
Mhm,
to what people, as society, as as we live today, where is the limit? Where do we draw the line when it comes to gender reassignment surgery, and how old do you
mhm,
have to be, and who makes the judgment call on that? Because a few years ago
mhm,
when I think it was what Dwayne Wade's son wanted to
mhm,
become the girl, and it was like,
mhm,
yo, it was like 14, 15 or something like that.
mhm,
And people,
mhm,
hey, before you do all that, okay, you're gay, okay, we understand that, but to have actual surgery performed, and
mhm.
being at that age, making that decision, that's a big decision. And
And it's a great,
it's it's a permanent decision to
yes, one you
something.
cannot reverse.
Yeah. And so we
Yeah.
just like, I guess people were worried of like, hey, before you do that, before you just, jump out the window here, just
Mhm,
kind of wait, because like I say, if you think it's a sure thing, there's no problem about waiting for it. I mean, it'll still happen. You just wait till you get of age or whatever. So to make sure,
mhm,
to have a decision made within a couple months versus something that's going to take a couple years, gave him, because I think he was like from 15. That would have been another 6 years before he would have been able to make that decision. Who knows if he did
mhm,
it or not? It's not like you keep up with it, but I just remember the initial conversation coming about. They were talking about
right.
that. And so it was just a really rough thing.
And I know parents too have to go through their transitioning and
Mhm.
or whoever the guardian is, and they're transitioning of under better trying to better understand their child with,
Mhm.
this transitioning process, right?
Yeah.
Because not only is it going to affect the family dynamic
Mhm.
individually, one parent may not really understand versus the other one is trying to be very understanding, or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? Because you can say you're very open to whatever your child wants to be in life, and that's great to say that. But when you go
Mhm.
behind another door, a closed door, your
Mhm.
feelings and your emotions could be at an all-time high of
Mhm.
anxiety and overwhelmingness of what has happened here, and then you start feeling like, was there a lack in your understanding as a parent? Did you do
Parent, did
something?
you
Did you
miss
miss
something? Yeah,
something?
and where did this all come
Right,
from? Yeah, yeah, definitely.
right, right.
And I'm
So,
sure lots of people go through that, through that today.
hmm
Yeah.
yeah, I have a lot of parents who go through a lot of guilty, of guilt feelings, emotions,
Mhm.
over a long period of time. And, and honestly, me talking to them, and I kind of step out of the therapeutic part of it and then go into like a mentoring part, a parent
Mhm.
coaching part, because those are the components sometimes that they miss. They
Mhm.
miss that because parenting is going to be parenting whether your child is transgender or not.
Yeah, it is what it is, and then you can do
Still
about it.
gotta love with empathy. You still have to, that unconditional. And I
Mhm.
think those are the things that when we use that part of it, then you can better understand what your child is having to experience and where you need to do the ultimate support of that,
Mhm.
so that you never lose the communication with the child that you birthed into this earth realm.
World, yeah, I
Hmm.
know that's an important thing to everybody. Everybody's really concerned about.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, like I said, I didn't want to take too much time on you. Just kind of like a catch up reel. Just
I'm glad
make
that you
sure we get,
did.
just get us caught up. I want to check in with you probably
Absolutely.
often just to make sure we all good and anything news going
Yes.
on with you. I definitely want to hear about, like I say, when my people reach out to you, I definitely want to hear about, how they're going to do that. Like I said, because we
Okay.
have a lot of stuff changing. There's a lot of moving parts with that. And being able to, I've seen some of the lists that they bring out for the semester. They're starting to prep them out now. And, the
Hmm.
people in the first month or so, they come out, and then, it goes as the months go from now until December as they bring
Okay.
people out and stuff like that. So definitely, I know I'll see it anyway, but, I definitely want to hear about
Yes.
what they do and
So I'm clearing my
all. Yeah.
schedule, so I'm
Hey,
ready for it.
yeah, definitely, definitely. That's what's up. You know what I'm saying? And I'm glad,
Right.
this platform has brought that light. You know what I'm saying? They brought that light on it because,
Yes.
you never know who will see these episodes or who
Who's
will see the
listening?
video or who will reach out and who it'll touch and stuff like that. So that's very important. So I'm glad it could be
Absolutely. And
somebody
I'm
I know.
here for it.
I'm glad it could be somebody
Yes.
I know that I can help you out. So that's what's up.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I don't know everything, but here I am. I can only speak a lot of it from experience too,
Mm,
you know.
yeah.
And who better to be able to speak on stuff that you've experienced already and how you healed from it or how you went through it and what
Mm,
is next for you. So I appreciate you just giving me that opportunity to share in that. Thank you so
yeah,
much.
that's what's up. So tell you what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna hit you back and we'll make it happen for this other thing. I love
Absolutely.